Act 3. A hall in the chateau called the throne room, which now serves as a courtroom. On one wall, a canopy hangs over a portrait of the king.
You're sure you've understood? Padrino,
Excellency.
did anyone see you?
Not a soul.
Take the Arab.
He's tethered at the garden gate, all saddled and ready.
Get moving then, and don't stop till you get to Seville.
It's only 3 leagues, and the going's easy.
The minute you arrive, find out if they've seen the page.
At the house?
Yes, and ask how long he's been there.
Understood.
Give him his commission, then come straight back here.
And if he's not there?
Come back even faster and report to... Sending Bazile away was a bad mistake. Losing a temper never helps. That note I got from him warning me that a man would try something on with the Countess, the maid in the dressing room when I went back. Her mistress quaking with terror, real or feigned. One man who jumps out of the window, and then another man admits it was him, or claims it was him. I can't make any sense of it. There's something here that's not clear. Taking the odd liberty with your own servants is neither here nor there with people of that type. But the Countess, what if some determined swine thought he could... What am I saying? The fact is, when you start losing your temper, even the most tightly controlled imagination will run wild, just as it does in dreams. She was playing a game. All that suppressed laughter and barely disguised glee. She has her self-respect, and I have my honor. Where the devil does my honor come in all of this? Given all that, how do I stand? Has that minx Suzanne let my plans for her out of the bag? Maybe. Nothing's happened yet, so there's nothing for her to keep quiet about. How did I get mixed up in this nightmare? I've tried many times to forget the whole thing. That's where being indecisive has got me. Now, if it was all simple and uncomplicated, I wouldn't want her anywhere near as much. Figaro's a long time. I must probe him very carefully and try in the course of the conversation by subtle questioning to find out whether or not he knows what my real feelings are for Suzanne.
Well, that's it.
And if she's as much as said one word to him about it,
I suspected as much.
I shall force him to marry the old woman.
So much for Basile's fond hopes.
Then I'll see what's to be done with the girl.
My intended, if it's all the same to you.
What? Who's that?
Only you, me, sir. You rang.
Why did you say that?
I didn't say anything.
My intended, if it's all the same to you.
It was the end of a sentence. I was saying, and you can tell that to my intended, if it's all the same to you.
Your intended? Perhaps you'd be good enough to tell me, sir, what urgent matter kept you when I had sent for you.
I got dirty when I fell into the flower bed. I was getting changed.
Does that take an hour?
Takes as long as it takes.
The servants in this house take longer to dress than their masters.
That's because they haven't got...
I still can't understand what made you put yourself unnecessarily at risk by jumping.
Risk? Anybody would think I'd leaped into the abyss and been swallowed alive.
You're avoiding the question by pretending to answer it. Don't be clever with me. You know very well that what concerns me is not the risk you took, but why you took it.
You believe some tale that's not true, and you burst in furiously, scattering all before you like some raging torrent in the Sierra Morena. You're hunting for a man. You've got to get him, or you'll smash down doors and break through walls. I happened to be there by chance. How was I to know if, given the fact that you were incandescent...
You could have got away down the stairs.
And you could have caught me in the corridor.
In the corridor. I mustn't lose my temper, or I'll never find out what I want to know.
String him along, but play your cards close to your chest.
That's not what I meant, so let's drop it. I was toying with the idea of taking you to London as my official courier, but on reflection...
Has your lordship changed your mind?
To start with, you can't speak English.
I can say, goddamn.
Sorry?
I said I can say, goddamn.
So?
Devil take it. English is a marvelous language. A little of it will take you a long way. In England, if you've got goddamn, you can go anywhere and want for nothing. Fancy a nice, plump your arm at the waiter like this, and you say, "Goddamn," and they bring you a lump of salt beef and no bread. Marvelous. Feel like a glass of good Burgundy or claret? Just do this, and goddamn, they serve you foaming beer in a handsome pewter pot. Very satisfying. Say you happen to run across one of those pretty fillies who goes tripping along all dainty, eyes on the ground, elbows back, hips gently swaying. All you do is give her a great big come on of a wink, and goddamn, she fetches you one so hard you see stars, which proves she understands exactly what you mean. I won't deny the English themselves do put in a few words here and there when they're talking to each other, but it's quite obvious that goddamn is the basis of the language. Now, if that's the only reason your lordship has for leaving me here in Spain...
Wants to go to London, so he hasn't talked.
He thinks I don't know a thing. Let's see how far we can get by playing it his way.
Tell me, what was the Countess's reason for playing her little game with me?
Really, sir, your lordship knows far more about that than I do.
I indulge her in every way. I shower her with gifts.
You give her presents, but you're unfaithful. Is a man without bread grateful for butter?
There was a time when you told me everything.
I'm not hiding anything from you now.
How much did the Countess pay you for your part in her little game?
How much did you pay me for extracting her from the doctor's clutches? Look, sir, it's not very sensible to turn against a man who has proved his usefulness. You might make a bad valet of him.
Why is it that there's always something louche about everything you do?
Because when you start looking for faults...
Your reputation is appalling.
Maybe I'm better than my reputation. Do you know many noble lords who could say that?
How many times have I seen you set off on the road to fortune and never once stay on the straight and narrow?
That's hardly surprising. It's such a busy road. Everyone fighting to get ahead, pushing, shoving, using their elbows and feet, every man for himself, and anyone who gets in the way is trampled in the crush. That's what you have to do.
Given up on fame and fortune, that's a novelty.
And now it's my turn. Your lordship was good enough to appoint me steward to your household. It's a very nice life. As it happens, I won't ever rise to be an official messenger who carries the exciting dispatches. But on the other hand, I'm looking forward to living happily with my wife here in deepest Andalusia.
What's to stop you taking her with you to London?
A man who was married and had to be away so much, I'd never hear the end of it.
But with your qualities and brains, you could climb the ladder and end up with an important government post one of these days.
Brains, climb the ladder. Your lordship must think I'm stupid. Second-rate and groveling, that's the thing to be. And then the world's your oyster.
All you'd have to do is take a few lessons in politics from me.
I know what politics is.
Like you know the key to the English language?
Not that it's anything to boast about. It means pretending you don't know what you do know, and knowing what you don't, listening to what you don't understand, and not hearing what you do, and especially claiming you can do more than you have the ability to deliver. More often than that, it means making a great secret of the fact that there are no secrets, locking yourself in your inner sanctum where you sharpen pens and give the impression of being profound and wise, whereas you are, as they say, hollow and shallow, playing a role well or badly, sending spies everywhere and rewarding the traitors, tampering with seals, intercepting letters, and your glorious ends. That's all there is to politics. And you can have me shot if it's not.
But what you've defined is intrigue.
Call it politics, intrigue, whatever you want. But since to me the two things are as alike as two peas in a pod, I say good luck to whoever has anything to do with either. Truly, I love my sweetheart more, as old King Henry's song goes.
He intends to stay. I understand Suzanne has told him.
I've led him up the garden path, which is what he wanted to do to me.
So you're hoping to win your case against Marceline?
Surely you don't think I'm wrong to say no to an old maid when your excellency believes you're entitled to relieve us of all the young ones.
In court, a judge puts all personal feelings to one side and is concerned only with the law.
Which goes easy on the strong and hard on the weak.
You think I'm joking?
Who can tell, sir? Tempo e galantuomo, as the Italians say. Time is a gentleman. A gentleman who always tells the truth. And he will let me know who has my interests at heart and who has not.
It's obvious he's been told everything. He'll
He was-
marry the old baggage.
He was playing cat and mouse with me. How much does he really know?
Don Gusman.
Brid'Oison.
But of course, His Worship, the chairman of the bench, your legal officer.
Tell him to wait.
Is everything as you wanted it, sir?
What? I gave orders that the room was to be set out for the public hearing.
Well, anything missing? The big chair for you, suitable seating for the magistrates, a stool for the clerk of the court, 2 benches for the lawyers, the floor area for the gentry, and then the rabble behind. I'll go and get rid of the men who've been polishing the floor.
The jackanapes made me work hard there. Engage him in an argument, and he takes the initiative. Gets you by the throat, and then runs rings around you. Oh, he and she make a fine couple. So you've joined forces to get the better of me. Be friends, lovers, anything you want, and you have my blessing. But life,
Your lordship, beg pardon, sir.
well, what's the matter, Suzanne?
You're angry.
I gather you want something.
The mistress has the vapors again. I ran all the way here to ask if you'd lend us some of your smelling bottle. I'll bring it back straight away.
No, you can keep it. You'll be needing it soon yourself.
Since when did girls of my sort have the vapors? Vapors is for ladies, and you can only catch it in boudoirs.
Still, a girl who's engaged and head over heels in love and about to lose the man she's going to marry.
But what if I paid Marceline with the dowry money you promised me?
Did I promise?
Well, that was what I took you to say, your lordship.
Quite so, but only if you'd be willing to take my meaning.
But isn't it my duty to obey, your excellence?
Why on earth didn't you say so sooner, you heartless girl?
It's never too late to tell the truth.
So you'll come to the garden just when it's getting dark?
I go there every evening to take the air, don't I?
This morning you treated me very callously.
This morning, with the page there hiding behind the chair.
You're right. I'd forgotten about him. But why did you persist in saying no when Bazile
Why do
kept
we
telling
need a-
you from me?
Bazile.
You're right every time. Still, there's a man by the name of Figaro, and I'm afraid you...
Of course I tell him everything, except what he has no business knowing.
Oh, delightful. So it's a promise? If you don't keep your word, let me quite clear, my sweet. No meeting in the garden, no dowry, no wedding bells.
But also no wedding bells means no old Spanish practices, sir.
How does she do it? I tell you, I shall love you madly, but your missus will be waiting for the smelling salts.
I had to have an excuse to talk to you, didn't I?
You delicious creature.
Oh, someone's coming.
She's mine.
Now to go and report to her ladyship.
Suzanne, where do you think you're rushing like that? You were alone with his lordship.
You can go to court now if you want. You've just won your case.
Hey, wait a minute.
You've just won your case. I almost fell into a very cunning trap. Such lovely people, but so two-faced. I'll have you both for this. A good clean verdict should do it, all legal and above board. But what if he pays the old woman? But what with? If he did pay, I can always fall back on Antonio, a man of the loftiest pride, who thinks Figaro's a nobody and not good enough to marry his niece. If I encourage his snobbery, why not? In the vast field of intrigue, you must know how to make use of everything, even the vanity of a fool. John?
Sir, may I put my side of the case?
Very well, let's talk about it orally.
It's a breach of promise.
Involving the loan of a sum of money.
I see, and then etc. and so on and so forth.
No, sir, there was no etc.
I see. You have the money to pay?
No, sir, I am the lender.
Oh, I see it perfectly. You're asking for the money back.
No, sir, I want him to marry me.
Oh, I see. It's all crystal clear. And does he want to marry you?
No, sir, that's why we're going to trial.
Are you suggesting that I don't understand this case?
No, sir. Is this getting us anywhere? No. So, will it be you who actually tries the case?
Well, why do you think I bought my judgeship?
It's scandalous that public offices are sold.
That's quite right. It would be far better if they just gave them out to us for nothing. Now, who are you suing?
This worthless man, sir.
I trust I'm not getting in your way. His lordship will be back shortly, sir.
Haven't I seen you somewhere before?
In your lady wife's services.
When was this?
A little under a year before the birth of your youngest son. A very pretty boy. I'm very proud of him.
Yes, he's the best looking of all the children. They tell me you've been up to your old tricks again.
Your worship is too kind. It's nothing, a minor matter.
A breach of promise? Aha! A poor, simple-minded...
Your worship.
Have you seen my secretary, young man?
You don't mean Doublement, the clerk of the court.
Yes, he's got his snout in 2 troughs.
Snout. I guarantee he's got both hands in as well. Yes, of course, I've seen him. About the abstract and the supplementary abstract, you know, the standard drill.
These formalities have to be observed.
Absolutely, your worship. The rights and wrongs of a case are the business of the parties involved. But we all know that proceedings going so strong.
This young man's not as stupid as I first thought. Well, my friend, since you know so much about these things, we shall have to take special interest in your
Sir,
case.
I shall trust to your innate sense of fairness, though I realize you are one of the judges.
Yes, I'm one of the judges, but when you owe money and you don't pay...
Then you do see, your worship, that it is all the same as if the money had never been owed in the first place.
Oh, yeah, very... Wait, what did he say?
Gentlemen, his lordship.
Why the full robes, my dear Brid'Oison? This is only a domestic matter. Town clothes would have been more than good enough.
It's your lordship who is more than good enough. I never sit without them for form's sake. You see, for the sake of form. People will laugh at a judge in a short gown, but they quake at the mere sight of a prosecuting counsel in full dress. Form, form, form.
Open the doors.
Court's in session.
Enter Antonio, men and women from the chateau and the estate in festive clothes.
Doublement, call the list of parties and seats.
The noble, right noble, and infinitely noble Lord Don Pedro George Hidalgo, Baron de los Altos y Montes Fieros y Ostros Montes versus Alonso Calderon, a young playwright. The case concerns a comedy, disowns and seeks to have attributed to the other.
Both are right. Case dismissed. If they collaborate on another play, it is the ruling of this court that with a view to ensuring that the said work achieves wide success, the noble shall contribute his name in the playwright his talent.
Andre Petruccio, farmer, versus the district tax collector. The case involves an appeal against liability to tax alleged to be excessive.
The case falls outside my jurisdiction. I can do my people far more good by protecting his ear. Next.
Barbara Garab Madeleine Nicole Madeleine de Verte Allure, a spinster having attained the age of majority, versus Figaro. Christian name not given.
Anonymous.
Anonymous? Is there a Saint Anonymous?
Yes, my patron saint.
Versus Anonymous, Figaro.
Gentlemen.
A gentleman? You?
If heaven had so decreed, I'd have been the son of a prince.
Carry on.
Silence in court.
The case concerns an objection to the marriage of the said Figaro, which is opposed by the aforesaid ventre allure Dr. Bartholo acting for the plaintiff and the aforementioned Figaro representing himself, if the court so permits, such a practice being contrary to the custom and usage of this bench.
Usage, Mr. Clerk, is often another name for abusage. Every client with a rudimentary education always has a better grasp of his own case than some floundering lawyer who loves the sound of his own voice, knows everything except the facts, and is no more concerned about ruining his client than about boring the court and putting their worships to sleep. And afterwards, he is as pleased with himself as if he'd personally written the oration Pro Murena, Cicero's finest. But I shall set out the facts in a few words. Your Honor.
The plaintiff, what you're here to do is defend yourself. Step forward, doctor, and read out the promise of marriage.
Yes, the promise.
It is clearly set out.
We shall need to see it.
Quiet, please, gentlemen.
Silence in court.
I, the undersigned, acknowledge receipts from Mademoiselle, etc., Madeleine de Vertalure, residing at the Chateau of Argas-Frassas, the sum of 2,000 milled piastres, which sum I shall repay at her request, at the chateau, and I will marry her in consideration thereof, and so forth. Signed, just Figaro. I shall argue for repayment of the monies and enforcement of the promise with costs. Your honors, a more fascinating case was never brought before a court of law, and since the time of Alexander the Great, whose promised marriage to beautiful Piastris.
Before you proceed further, counsel, are we agreed that the document is not in dispute?
Do you object to anything, counsel, that the counsel has just read out?
Yes, Your Honors, to wit, there was malice, error, or carelessness in the reading of it. For the document does not say, which sum I shall repay and I will marry her, but which sum I shall repay or I will marry her, which is completely different.
Does the document say and or?
It says and.
It says or.
Mr. Clerk, you read the document.
It's the safest way, for when the parties read out documents themselves, they often falsify. Blah, 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 mademoiselle, blah, 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 de Vertalure, blah, blah. Which sum I shall repay at her request at the Chateau of Argas Frescas. And, or, the writing's very bad. There's a blot.
Oh, a blot. I know all about blots.
I contend that the word is copulative conjunction and, which connects the two correlative elements of the sentence thus. I shall repay her at her request in the Chateau Argas Frescas and marry her.
And I submit that it is the alternative conjunction or, and that it separates the two aforesaid elements thus. I shall repay the lady, or I shall marry her. I can be pedantic too. He can rabbit on in Latin if he wants. I'll talk Greek. I'll slaughter him.
How is this matter to be resolved?
To abridge the discussion and avoid further quibbling over a word, we concede that the document says or.
I want that written down.
It is a flimsy refuge and will afford no shelter for the guilty party. Let us look at the sentence again in the light of this. Which sum I undertake to repay, or I will marry her, but both things at the chateau. Now, this or, your honors, has the same sense as in, you can be bled here in the cold, or have the leeches applied to your own warm bed. Where the location is far from immaterial, again, always take the rhubarb with wine or a pinch of tamarind. Here the rhubarb is crucial, and the wine or tamarind are subordinate to it. It follows clearly that the marrying, like the repaying, is to be done at the chateau.
Not at all. The sentence should be read according to this model. Either the illness will kill you, or the doctor will. Or alternatively, the doctor will, there's no getting around it. Another example. Either you'll never write anything that's any good, or fools will mock your success. Or else, fools, etc. The meaning's clear. In this case, fools or rogues is the subject, the nominative case. Does my learned friend think I have forgotten all my grammar? Therefore, I shall repay her in this chateau, comma, or I will marry her.
There's no comma.
There is, your honors, it's comma, or else I'll marry her.
Your honors.
It was there, your honors. In any case, can a man who marries be required to reimburse his wife?
Yes. We will marry the defendant opting to keep accounts and possessions separate.
And we will marry the plaintiff opting to keep bodies separate if marriage does not mean wiping the slate clean.
Strange way of balancing your accounts.
Quiet, please, gentlemen.
Silence in court.
And the unmitigated rogue calls that settling his debt.
Is it your own case, counsel, that you're arguing?
I am defending this lady.
Carry on spouting nonsense by all means, but please no more slurs. When courts first allowed litigants whose feelings might otherwise run away with them to be represented by so-called third parties, they did not intend these neutral advocates to turn into the licensed mudslingers. They are an insult to a noble institution.
What they got to be chewing the fat about all this time?
Oh, someone's got at the chief judge. He's getting at the assistant judge, and I'm going to lose my case.
I'm afraid so.
Chin up, Marceline.
You go too far. I am reporting you, and to protect the good name of this court, I demand that before the other matter is considered, this issue be settled first.
No, Mr. Clerk. I shall not give a judgment on the slight against my person. A Spanish judge may safely disregard an outburst which belongs more properly to the courts of Asia. There are plenty of other abuses to deal with. I shall correct one such by setting out the reasons for my judgment. Any judge who refuses to do likewise is no friend of the law. What is the plaintiff entitled to claim? Marriage if payment is not forthcoming, for the one excludes the other.
Quiet, please, gentlemen.
Silence in court.
What is the defendant's response? That he wishes to retain his unmarried status? This he is free to do.
I've won.
But since the document says which sum I shall repay at her request at the chateau, or I will marry her, the decision of this court is that the defendant will pay the plaintiff 2,000 piastres or marry her today.
I've lost.
A grand verdict.
Why is it grand?
Because it means you ain't gonna be my nephew, of course. Thank you very much, your lordship.
The court will rise.
I'm going straight off and tell my niece about this.
Ah, I can breathe again.
And I'm suffocating.
I've got my revenge, at least, which is something.
Where was Bazile, who was going to object to the marriage? How come he's not back yet?
The court delivered its verdict.
If this fat legal windbag...
Me, a fat windbag?
Yes, and I won't marry her. I'm a gentleman. Let's be quite clear about that.
You will marry her.
Without the blessing of my noble parents.
What's their name? Can
Just-
you produce them?
Just give me a little time. I'm very close to finding them. 15 years I've been searching.
How pretentious. Found as a baby, I expect.
Lost as a baby, doctor, or more accurately, stolen.
Stolen, lost, where's the proof? He must be allowed to provide the evidence, or he'll say he's been hard done by.
My lord, if the lace baby clothes, embroidered shawls, and gold-mounted gems found on me by the robbers are not enough to prove my high birth, then the care someone took to give me a distinctive mark should be sufficient evidence that I was much-loved son. This strange symbol on my arm.
A spatula on your right arm?
How did you know that?
Merciful heavens, it's him.
Yes, it's me.
Oh, who's this him?
Emmanuel.
Were you stolen by gypsies?
Near a chateau. Good Dr. Bartholo, restore me to my noble family and you can name your price. Ask a mountain of gold and my illustrious parents would not quibble to let you have...
Where is your mother?
You mean my old nursemaid?
No, his mother.
Explain yourself.
He's your father.
Oh, no!
Didn't your instinct tell you over and over?
Never!
Mother.
Well, it's Quite clear he can't marry her now.
This silly business has wrecked my plan.
What happened to your noble birth in the chateau? You can't play games with the law.
The law was about to land me in a fine mess. How many times have I almost brained that man over there for his damned 100 crowns, and now he turns out to be my father. But since the good Lord has seen fit to deliver me from that danger, please, act. And you, mother, embrace me as maternally as you can manage.
My lord, stop. Don't make them marry. I've come to pay Marceline with the dowry her ladyship has given me.
Damn her ladyship. It looks as everything's conspiring against me.
Did you ever? Still going to pay up?
His mother and then turns to Suzanne.
Did you ever? It's still going to pay up?
I've seen enough. Come, uncle, we're going.
No, you're not, if you don't mind. What did you see?
How stupid I am and what a rat you are.
You saw neither.
Go ahead, marry her since you like kissing her so much.
I kissed her, but I'm not marrying her.
Suzanne starts to leave. Figaro holds her back and she slaps his face.
Isn't this what they call love? Before you go, please take a good look at this wonderful lady.
I'm looking.
And what do you think of her?
He's horrible.
Ah, jealousy, the green-eyed god does not mince its words.
Won't you kiss your mother-in-law, my pretty Susie? That awful man who's...
You're his mother?
Happened just this minute, did it?
Seems like. And with me, mother, it was common sense, not instinct, that made me refuse to marry you. I never hated you, far from it. The money, for example.
It's yours. Here, take the deed. It's your dowry.
And take this too.
Ah, I thank you with all my heart.
I was very unhappy when I was a girl. I was on the way to becoming the most miserable of wives. And now I am blessed among mothers. Kiss me, my children. I vest all my affection in you both. Oh, I couldn't be more happy. Oh, my dears, I shall love you so much.
Stop it, mother, not another word. You want me to see me reduced to tears, the first I ever shed. At least they are tears of happiness. Oh, I'm such a fool. I was starting to feel ashamed of crying. I felt the tears coming and starting through my fingers, and look, stupidly tried to hold them back. I refuse to be ashamed. I want to laugh and cry at the same time. Feeling the way I do is something that happens only once in a lifetime.
Oh, my boy.
My darling boy.
Dear me, I must be a fool too.
Away, dull care. Now I defy you to do your worst. Come for me if you dare, but first you'll have to get past these two loving women.
Oh, not so much of the lovey-dovey, if you don't mind. Now, when it comes to marriage, the parents got to be wed first. You take my meaning. How about yours? Hand's been offered, hands accepted.
Me? Offer my hand? It will dry up and will drop off before I give it to the mother of a clown like this.
So you're just like one of them unnatural fathers. Since that's how it is, Romeo, there's nothing more to say.
But uncle.
You don't think I'd give my child of my own sister to a man that's nobody's child?
That can't be right, Oaf. Everybody is somebody's child.
You'd better start looking for somebody who will adopt you.
Stop, Doctor. Don't go.
I think of all the morons in Andalusia are lining up to stop my marriage.
You're a dear and he's your son.
He's got brains, talent, looks.
And never cost you a penny.
What about the 100 crowns he got out of me?
We'll take good care of you, my dear.
We'll love you so much, you dear man.
Dear, my dear, you dear man, it looks like I'm even bigger fool than this gentleman. I'm letting myself get talked around it like a child. Hold on, I haven't said yes. Oh, what's become of his lordship?
We'd better run and catch him quick and force him to give the word. If he starts on some new plot, we'll have to start all over again from scratch.
Hurry, hurry, up, go. A bigger fool than this gentleman. People can say that sort of thing to themselves, but really, people around here aren't very polite.